Hey everyone, this is Cameron, the co-host and editor of Renegade Animation on renegadepopculture.com. If you like what we do, please give us a like, a follow, and a rating on Apple Podcasts, or a like and subscribe on YouTube, or wherever you can find us. We are where podcasts can be found. If you can, consider supporting our Patreon. That way we can keep doing what we love, and that's talking about the mind-rotting, hellish, chaotic world of animation. And now, on with the show.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host this evening. Joining me, as always, is the animation guru himself, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And everyone's favorite Crazy Lemur, Bree.
Hello.
And we got a great show for you today, but first,
it's time for everyone's favorite game show, Bullshit!
That's right, Mike and Bree. It's been another beautiful week of shame and embarrassment of being a fan of animation. They cannot, whether it's the industry or the animation fandom, not sit still, be quiet, and behave for 5 minutes. We turn our heads and something utterly asinine happened. Just seems like it's been like that nonstop throughout this whole year so far. And it's deeply frustrating.
But Cameron, I have to ask, out of all the topics that we have to discuss today, which one would you say is the most embarrassing?
Mike, that's a wonderful question because depending on how you look at it, you can pick any one of these as the number one spot.
Truly a smorgasbord of awful.
Do you go with the Hollywood Reporter article about the canceled Pixar film Be Free that we mentioned in last week's podcast about two female friends who are possibly drifting away as friends as they find out that their favorite TV show, a magical girl show, was real and they must go on an adventure? And it got canceled because some Disney executive said, we can't make a girl power movie. The same studio that has made and profited off of the Disney Princess lineup has a 100-year history of making Disney princess movies, or how it basically spits in the face of how the entire animation, whether it's US, European, or Japanese animation, drags it and throws it all under the bus, despite the fact that the anime industry basically makes so many female girl power shows or female-centric focus shows on a whim. They don't even have to think about it. Because boy howdy would I hate to be the Disney executive to say, let's cancel this a few years ago, only to then watch K-pop Demon Hunters become the biggest girl power animated movie, and just movie in general, of 2025.
You know what's crazy about this is that this happened in 2023. You want to know what also happened in 2023? Do you remember that weird little indie film, Barbie?
Or Nimona, that became a massive hit and Oscar nominated as Wish, the big old celebration of Disney's 100th anniversary, became one of the most hated movies of all time, and one of Disney's many box office duds of 2023. How can you say we can't do a girl boss movie and then watch as everyone else parades around your idiocy as a company? It must be embarrassing. I would hate to be that executive, because I would be possibly packing up my bags and my
Mickey Mouse hat.
Yeah, and leaving. Because, boy howdy, I would hate to be that guy. And let's be real, it's a guy. Because it's just like that Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot that got canned because an executive said, I don't care about these teen dramas. And it's like, then why are you in the industry where you are possibly going to work on one of those? What possible worth of substance do you even offer, you absolute waste of space?
Yes, seriously.
It's almost like not everything's made for you. It's almost like your job is to make money.
And people would have loved a reboot, even though we're all kind of sick and tired of them. But people would have watched it because Whedon wasn't attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you choose Paramount for somehow not letting this happen, not once, but not twice, 3 different times, an animated film they were set to release got leaked. And it's not just the Paw Patrol movie, which I'm kind of finding that funny that they are not letting those get leaked. But some random nobody on Twitter somehow got emailed the full compressed version of the upcoming Avatar movie and leaked it online. Leaks don't help with anything. They do more reprehensible damage and take away power from the creatives.
I just feel bad for the Avatar creators because I don't know.
I mean, they've been basically dicked around for half a decade at this point.
Did they just roll a D1 at birth and then just...
You know what's crazy is that every incarnation of this franchise, and I remember this bullshit happening in book 3 where episodes would leak on Nick affiliates earlier, some episodes would premiere on DVD first. It's crazy that every incarnation of this franchise has had some sort of leak. It is actually incredible that over the last 20 years, just that level of consistent incompetence. And you know what? I'm not a hacker type, but I'm willing to bet the farm that this was a phishing email. But here's my question: why would you not encrypt and password protect those files, especially since this whole harebrained scheme of pulling it from the theatrical schedule was obviously a ploy to pump up Paramount Plus subscriptions?
And now it's well, I don't care. I'm not going to subscribe to Paramount Plus because I don't like that service. It's one of the worst services out there. Say what you will about Netflix, but y'all can complain about Netflix until the cows come home, but y'all aren't going to run away from it.
It's not even just the content, which I'm scared for what a David Ellison run Paramount is going to look like, but literally the UI of Paramount Plus is just fucking awful.
It is one of the ugliest things I ever did. I actually finally canceled my Paramount Plus subscription because the only reason I got in the first place was to give my dad Yellowstone episodes and the promise for that Avatar content. But I'm I've given you my money for 3 years. We're done.
And plus, if I want to give them money, I will just buy the Blu-ray sets off eBay, which they won't get the money from. So, God, it's
we will talk about the Avatar movie when it's available legally.
I don't want to talk about it because I did see one snippet of a clip and it's just I don't want to see this right now, man. I want to see this on the big screen. Which, if I was the director and the team behind this movie, I would be so mad. I would go possibly with a lawsuit towards the Ellisons and say, we demand compensation and a theatrical release in theaters upwards to 3 months.
I mean, this is a mess of Paramount's own creation because this movie, if you saw what it is, it's obviously, for the few seconds we saw, this movie's obviously been done for quite a bit. And this is them, I don't know whether they expected, the SpongeBob movie to make Zootopia numbers, because first of all, the SpongeBob movies historically have just kind of done okay. But expecting SpongeBob in 2025 to put up numbers was just asinine at best. They used this whole thing and pulling it around. I'm just what did you think it was going to happen when you kept dicking around for enough? You fucked around and you found out.
And all they got now for theatrical releases is that stupid Paw Patrol dinosaur movie, which we're not going to talk about that. I don't give a flying shit about the Paw Patrol movie. Nothing against the team of animators who had to make it. I will say I did laugh at that one joke about the bulldog not being able to run fast because he's a bulldog. So, but it's just like, you got nothing, Paramount. You got nothing coming out that's any potential interest.
Oh, and even better, like as of the time of recording a few hours ago, apparently, between the Hollywood letter decrying the merger, apparently, whether or not anything comes from it is an entirely different story, but the UK government is apparently trying to get involved and possibly stop the merger.
You know what? If they can do that, more power to them.
I mean, I trust everywhere else except the U.S. government to do anything, because, god damn it, we can't do anything here. Or
we can't even take care of our own people, let alone, like, other nations.
Oh, God. Okay, but what about the third option on the wheel?
Ooh.
The spiciest of idiocy, the most buffet of bad takes, and people who are now fighting against the very thing that they wanted to happen with indie animation. The Amazing Digital Circus is going to be in theaters for 2 weeks, with the episode 8 and episode 9 combined for a feature film length. And for some reason, everyone who was supposed to be a fan and a supporter of this medium decided to say, hey, you know what? I now suddenly hate indie animation. And maybe I'm overly simplifying it for baby purposes, but you know what? These fans can go suck a big old fat one, because y'all are now becoming the very creatures that we make fun of on this show. Like, it's open season now. We have full ammunition to make fun of y'all on any given basis.
It's animation fan season.
Yeah. It's exactly that, because everyone and their grandma, who probably doesn't know what the Amazing Digital Circus is, had a pants, like, destroying shit fit of probably the most mind-blowing proportions of, why can't you just put this on YouTube for free? God darn it. Why do I have to pay to go see this in theaters? This makes Glitch a sellout company.
This is where I get to introduce one of my favorite concepts. What we have been witnessing over the past couple days is something called crab mentality, where, and you've seen this a lot, like in the punk rock scene, where people who claim to be fans of these bands, like, they want them to be successful, but not too successful. So probably the best example of this is when, like, in the 90s, when Green Day, this band who got their start playing on Gilman Street, an old club in California, once they signed to a major label, they became instantly labeled as sellouts, when really that's far from the truth.
Like, the whole concept of indie animation is that these studios do not have to answer to a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate mega corporation. And as big as Glitch has gotten, and as big as Spindlehorse has gotten, they are still not having to answer to either, like, Disney, Universal, Amazon Prime, Netflix, whatever. Funny enough, the studios came to them because they didn't have the power. And, like, do you guys want indie animation to succeed? Because it succeeding means it breaks out of the minuscule indie animation fandom to a wider audience to possibly get deals with distributors or streaming services, and not having to rely on lower than average pay and merchandise sales to fund everything.
It's like like, because I know a lot of them are kids, but you know what? This is like a grow the fuck up moment. Like, their whole mentality that everyone has to live like a pauper or you're a sellout is fucking insane. When indie animation should be a different path so that animators and artists and everyone else associated from the production coordinators to the PAs down can have a healthy, sustainable career. Like, and I'm sorry, if you're worried about spoilers, I'm like,
who cares?
dude, yeah, who the fuck cares? I mean, even if I've been spoiled by stuff, like, I remember as a kid, someone spoiled the end of Corpse Bride with me, but you know what, my mentality was, I don't know if they're bullshitting me or not. Let me find out. But if you can't live without your phone for 2 weeks, or at least bare minimum, just temporarily shut off anything digital circus related, that's a you problem, bud.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is what needs to be the next step, so they can do stuff like this. Or maybe like smaller indie animated films can get into a theatrical release. Like, barely any anime films, despite how popular some of them can be, barely get a 2-day theatrical release. Some of them only get like a day. And you better watch it, or else it's never coming back into theaters. What do y'all want?
Yeah, no, seriously. Like, at the very beginning, I tried to give some of these takes the benefit of the doubt. But, like, no. No, they were dumb right from the very start.
Like, if these were, some of them were kids, like, kids who just don't know better, maybe I would give them the tiniest wiggle room. But if these are, like, teenagers to adults, shut up. Nobody cares about what you have to complain about. And it makes you no longer a fan or a supporter of animation if you are now fighting against the very thing and growth that the indie animation scene needs to go through.
If you want indie animation to be the future, this is how it happens. Like, you're looking at it.
And Glitch is like brave for this because I mean, although I think this is testing the waters to potentially do like feature work, because if you noticed in like some of the recent Digital Circus episodes, the animation quality has definitely had a noticeable quality increase.
Oh,
but
for sure.
But like, this is them sticking out because they are like the big guy. Like, they, you know, they are, and I hate to use this, like, I'm gonna vomit in my mouth a little bit to say this, but they're the Disney of indie animation, so
no.
Can we at least call them the Lucasfilm of animation? Because literally up until Disney acquired them in 2012, they were like, Lucasfilm was still technically like an independent operated studio.
You know, actually, I did want to bring up this quote because I mentioned this earlier this week in a group chat in regards to this. Do y'all remember that one quote from George Lucas in like 2012, like right after he sold Star Wars?
Yeah.
What was that again? Was it just kind of like, thank God I'm out of this?
Well, I mean, it was that politely. Let me just. Oh, I actually have it on my phone. I'm gonna say the whole thing. I think this is from like The Guardian. I forget which publication it's from, but it doesn't matter. The 67-year-old filmmaker refused to apologize for making changes to his original Star Wars films through the addition of computer-generated imagery, which many fans of the movies felt jarred with the more naturalistic look of the trilogy. On the internet, all those same guys that are complaining I made a change are completely changing the movie. I'm saying fine, but my movie, with my name on it, that says I did it. Needs to be the way I want it. Why would I make any more, Lucas says, when everybody yells at you all the time and says, what a terrible person you are. I don't know, I just thought about that quote a lot this week.
It's just like, it's been so frustrating, and it doesn't help when all these, like, and to be clear, like, especially back with the Pixar Disney idiocy of B-Freeze cancellation, and people are going like, well, Sony would never let this happen to K-pop Demon Hunters, and it's just like,
and we're like,
about that.
every animation studio out there has a graveyard of films that have been canned. It's not hard to look them up. Disney has quite a big graveyard. Just because Pixar's isn't as noticeable doesn't mean that they don't have some dead films back there. Sony killed the Medusa movie from Lauren Faust, and I forgot, they had another one that they canned. Like, that was, like, well known, but I forgot what it was.
Oh,
but, like,
well, and people are still salty about, like, the Popeye test animation. That wasn't actually, like, a canceled film. It was just a proof of concept. But the point is, they still didn't move forward with the project.
Like, every studio has done this. Not one is better than the other. And, like, the main topic that we'll definitely move into with this episode is watching all these other studios from either within the US animation scene or from around the world just have no problem with the kind of movies they want to make. They're like, it's my movie, I'm going to make it. If it sucks, it sucks. But who cares? It's my movie. I mean, I'm sure there are some, like, executive meddling that we may or may not know about. But the internet and animation YouTube slop content creators have formed a weird, like,
borderline parasocial.
Like, parasocial mirror of, like, things that have gone on. Like we talked about with the reference Lindsay Ellis video about the Thief and the Cobbler. Like, it has painted, like, Richard Williams as this martyr victim of Disney's greed and, like, evilness, when, y'all, there are 100 different reasons to go after Disney and call them out for some of the most heinous stuff that they do.
Yeah, you don't have to create a fake reason when you already have, like, hundreds of real ones to choose from.
Like, let's be real. And I've seen The Princess and the Cobbler and the recobbled cut of The Thief and the Cobbler. Richard Williams is an amazing animator. He is an awful storyteller. So, when you already had a lightweight plot taken away from you and then ramshackled together by the Weinstein Company, or it was getting kind of ramshackled together before the Weinsteins took over and then ramshackled it more, like, it was bound to be, like, it's really Richard Williams' fault by the end of it, because he just could not finish a deadline, which, y'all, perfectionism is not a glorious, holy weapon of talent in the animation industry scene. If y'all can condemn John Kaye for, on top of being a creepy sex pest, but for the fact that he got blacklisted for not being able to follow deadlines, then Richard Williams we need to rewrite the history of Richard Williams was an amazing, talented person, but he also could not, like, finish a deadline to save his life with that movie. So, and again, the mirror is just refracting and cracking under all this weird parasocial animation fandom and industry nonsense of, again, Sony would never do this. Oh, yes, they would.
Oh, they 1,000% would.
Oh, DreamWorks wouldn't do this. Oh, yes, they would. Disney and Pixar would never do this. Oh, yes, they freaking would.
It's almost like these are multi-billion-dollar corporations that don't fucking care about you.
They really don't. And it's so frustrating because these fans play all this, like, console war, Nintendo versus Sega bullshit.
It's high school drama, and they don't care if actual people get hurt. You know, as long as they can have, like, their purity points. It's so ridiculous. But, like, here's the thing. Even if you were mad, like, how could Glitch do this to me? How, you know, just forgetting, like, that argument, you know, being totally stupid. But just saying that you're pissed off that they're having in the movie theaters, which, by the way, the screenings are only, like, 4 days. And, by the way, Glitch negotiated the exclusivity window, because originally it was going to be a gap of like a month between the theaters and like the YouTube drop. They got it down to 2 weeks. No one's really talking about that. And like the fact that they had to quote unquote apologize for all this was fucking ridiculous. But here's like the absolute kicker. If you were that mad and upset about that, and you know, you couldn't find a screening or there wasn't a theater nearby, the bare minimum you could have done is just fucking called your theater. But no, it's much easier to harass people and do call-out posts on Reddit and act like a fucking petulant child when the easiest thing you could have did is say, hey, I want to see this. And a lot of my friends too. Can you do something? But you are too fucking lazy to even do that.
They always go after the creatives. It's like, go after the executives. Go after... I mean, like, don't harass your theaters, but tell them that you want to see this in your theater. It's not complicated. It's not that hard. Like, so many movies went viral because they were going to, like, this is the scariest movie of all time, and you better see it in a theater. Call your theaters now, or else you'll never see the scariest experience of all time of watching Clifford the Big Red Dog on the big screen. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and the most asinine thing is, like, with all this console war nonsense with these studios, is that these people will not go to, like, check out stuff. I mean, like, yeah, I'm not going to say you're not a true animation fan if you don't go to the Cannes Film Festival to watch the 3 movies that are, like, so far announced as we are recording this. Animated films that are going to be playing there. Fallen, Gem Queen, and In Waves that will be playing at the Cannes Film Festival, which are offering things that so many people are looking for, but then don't really want to go and watch that stuff. And listen, I understand if something like Gem Queen, which is like the most openly queer, homoerotic looking thing ever. I mean, then again, what do you expect from the YouTube channel Bobby Pills?
Exactly.
But Disney and Pixar and some of these other studios, as they are, unless a creative puts their foot down, are not going to offer these kind of experiences. Like, am I looking forward to that Pixar film by the Luca director Gatto with this apparent painted art style that it's going to have? Sure. But they are still going to possibly sand it down to be the most universal story. And it's, God, like, the whole focus group testing or just executive comments of, will these boys understand a 2-girl friendship story? Have they never been, like, growing apart from their guy friends or anything through life? Hell,
Isn't that literally fucking Luca?
Yeah, that's literally Luca. It's like, it's just like, it's the anal specificness of these people being like, can I relate to these girls? And it's just like, are you saying that because you're not a girl for some, or you don't identify as one? Or are you just saying this because you don't want to watch a movie about 2 girls going through a complex, nuanced adventure of, like, dealing with that? Because everyone's dealt with this. Like, a drifting friendship. Hell, that's kind of the sad thing about male friendships, is that they're kind of told that male friendships are, you know, gay. So you gotta drift apart and get pulled into these toxic manosphere bullshit, when it's just like, no, that's the exact opposite. You can relate to films like Turning Red, or K-pop Demon Hunters, or Arco, or Robot Dreams, or anything. Like, if you are not willing to look through the deeper thematic elements of these movies, then you're kind of stupid. Like, or you're just that narrow-minded and ignorant to the world of art that it's like, Get out of here. Get scram.
While you were going on that rant, I couldn't help but think of Brian Cox's rant about screenwriting in adaptation. That is basically the energy I'm bringing to everyone from, dumbass studio executives to fans or people who call themselves fans but aren't really like showing actual support for the medium that they love. Instead, they're basically just like coming up with excuses to not go the extra mile.
And here's the thing. Here's the spicy hot take. I don't think indie animation pilots should be released for free anymore. I think you put at the very highest a $3 minimum to make people watch it. Because otherwise, no, releasing for free is kind of like the worst thing to happen, because you're now then preying on you hit like Digital Circus levels of success, which is not possible. Like
Digital Circus's success would have never been as massive if they didn't hit the gold of like Murder Drones.
And here's the thing: other indie series are now having to find distribution or production help from other companies. Like there's this Mech West series that Mike and I talked about. It's now on episode 4 after going through Patreon and Kickstarter to fund the episodes. And now, for better or for worse, Angel Studios is now the distributor of that show. But it's not even like that religious of a show, but that's beside the point. Angel Studios are trying to shrug off the Sound of Freedom nonsense that they've dug their hole into, and are trying to be like, hey, we're buying real shows and movies. And it's just like, cool. Are you going to apologize about what Sound of Freedom did, like, to the industry? Or how you all just grifted that nonsense into success? No? I don't care. I don't care.
And it's speaking of Patreon, like, to kind of roll back to your earlier point, like honestly, I feel like what some of these shows should do is they should have like a Patreon exclusivity window. Like if you pay like a certain amount, you get to see it first, and then they can go wider to YouTube to get more people in.
I think that's a good compromise, because getting those people to subscribe to the Patreon, you're building an audience to like to hype up the more public release, and then the shows can grow from there.
And here's the thing. YouTube has reported that online animation, especially these indie series, are extremely popular, or to some degree more popular than anything that the main industry is making. And instead of doing something about it, YouTube is just kind of like, but then that means we might have to pay more people money. And it's like, yeah, that's how that works. And you can bemoan and groan about the algorithm and sponsorships leaving the website, and it's just like, you know why that's happening, and you are refusing to kick off the people who are causing the damage to your websites. Like, I'm sorry, that it's just like, if you want indie animation to succeed, if you want animation to succeed in general, animation people, whether they're on the indie side or the studio side, need to be paid better. Or else you get shit like Invincible. I'm sorry. Or just like all the floundering failures of indie animation pilots that do not reach Has-Been Hotel or Digital Circus level success. Like, I don't get it. I really don't get it. And if you want indie animation to also succeed, that means that they shouldn't have to rely on Kickstarter. But you know what? I'm fine with it. Because if that's what has to happen right now, then that is what's going to happen. especially with like the amazing success Clara and the Below has gotten from Matt Braley and his team. Like,
yeah, that's like, is that campaign still going?
I think tomorrow's the final day, if I'm not mistaken. Or it's ending within the next couple days.
But the fact that they reached their goal within like, what was it, like a week or 2 weeks is kind of amazing.
It's very like impressive because it shows that those people actually want to, because it was Matt Braley who made Amphibia, but still, they said, okay, we're going to put our money where our mouth is and you better fund this. And people said, okay, we're going to do it. And good. Like, I have thrown in money for multiple indie pilots. You can see my screen name, Cam's Eye View, in the credits for the Ebony Witch, which, despite some technical sound issues, is a really cool pilot. So, I just don't get the idiocy from the studios or from, like, the fandom. I just don't know where these people come from or why they're so uneducated about this stuff. Because, I don't know. And it's also, like, it doesn't help when, like, Netflix doesn't really have a great lineup also. Because they just kind of gave up on telling people, make the things that the studios don't want you to make. And yet are now like, we will let you make something, but not as much as you think. Like, not as ambitious as we used to be. Because, like, they got that new movie Steps, which has Amanda Seyfried.
Oh my god.
Amanda Seyfried and...
Oh my god, guys. The
Yeah.
whole Avatar movie just leaked.
What? On Twitter?
Apparently, because one of my mutuals apparently worked on it.
Oh, God. This is what we're talking about. No, This is not going to help the movie get into theaters. It will probably only do that if that team sues the hell out of Paramount for letting this happen.
And people are gonna watch it. Please, I'm not used to watching that shit. Oh my god, this sucks.
This really sucks, especially since Twitter didn't used to allow full-screened movies to get released to the website, but now they do. Because the whole site's run by one of the dumbest sex pests in all of the land. Oh God, this episode.
The crazy thing is, Paramount filed DC Made takedowns, yesterday, so that worked out great.
No, it didn't. Oh boy, but we do actually have a movie to talk about.
A good one, in fact.
A very good one.
Very good one, because it is the 50th anniversary for the Italian Fantasia experience Allegro non Troppo, which I was so shocked about this movie getting any kind of support, because this was one of those foreign animated oddities that, while it did have some kind of US theatrical release way back in 1976, it was never put out on like Blu-ray and such, or DVD or VHS. It pretty much stayed over the pond. It was just kind of like, well, maybe the internet can allow me to watch the Bruno Bozetto's filmography, because those films aren't widely available in English, even though West and Soda did get some kind of small US release, but I think it was butchered because, of course it was. This was back in the day when, if you thought the US studio system did not know how to handle foreign animation releases, boy howdy, you don't want to know how much got chopped out or retranslated because they were like, oh, this is weird. So, this is, like I said, Bruno Bozetto's probably his most famous movie. Because he has the Mr. Rossi films, which is like a trilogy of films like about this one character that I think got really popular in Italy. And then West and Soda, which was a spaghetti western parody. But Allegro non Troppo was the major, like, standout foreign animated film from his catalog, and probably the most well-known Italian animated film out there. And I mean well-known and famous, but not like those weird Italian Titanic animated films. We call this Fantasia from Italy, because that's really what it is. Because it's about a, like, he's not even like, well, I mean, he's a theatrical person, but he's not really, he's like a con man who sets up this entire, like, Fantasia-like experience by kidnapping a bunch of people to play the instruments, has apparently one man animating every single sequence, and a scuzzy conductor who is not the most up-and-up guy, and probably not a real conductor and such. And throughout the whole movie, they play the, like, he hypes it up as, like, this is the first animated movie to ever synchronize with orchestrated classical music. And then gets a phone call from his lawyer from saying, like, well, apparently some guy in California made this movie first. His name was, like,
Schmisney. Or Bisney. Yeah.
Or Bisney. Yeah, I think at one point it was, like, Prisney.
Yes, Prisney.
And he's just like, well, you know what? I don't believe you. Show me the proof. And for back then, I would have to say that is the one argument you would have to provide evidence of. Because again, as amazing as Fantasia is as a movie, it is one of the most... it's like one of the Mount Rushmore of achievements in animation. Next to, like, Snow White, Beauty and the Beast, and possibly, like, Akira, to name, like, one variation of the Mount Rushmore of animation achievements. It wasn't popular. It died horribly at the box office. People did not really know for, frankly, decades how to react to it.
But not only that, Walt did kind of spend a fortune on this, but for what he was doing at the time, and especially with, like, the sound system that he was using for this movie, it was definitely ahead of its time.
I mean, basically, he, had the concept of surround sound in movie theaters, like, 50 years before the fact. And before we continue, so I'm, like, trying to piece together the Avatar story. Apparently, someone hacked Nickelodeon's YouTube channel and uploaded it to that.
Oh, God. The story just gets worse.
The story does freaking get worse. Oh my God. Anyway, let's get back to Allegro non Troppo, because I'm sorry, like, we're not going to talk about the Avatar movie. We're dealing with enough. We're dealing with enough. I know,
but I can't believe in real time as we're recording it, it's just gotten worse.
Oh God. It's just so funny, man. Anyway, let's actually talk about Allegro non Troppo. So, it's very much set up as Italy's Fantasia, with some political satire thrown in. Not, like, the most complicated satire to understand. Some of the shorts are very easy to understand. Especially the second one, set to Antonin Dvorak's Slavonic Dance No. 7, OP-46, which is basically, like, a guy follows the leader. Like, it's very much a follow the leader, and then it's like, follow the idiot into war and jumping off a cliff. Until everyone realizes, oh no, wait a freaking minute, this is so stupid. No, we're not doing this. It's so different from Disney, because, like, Fantasia from Disney is very classical and very, like, we are taking this deadly seriously. Like with Fantasia, it's like art and animation is cinema. Like it's literally what Guillermo del Toro has tried to put into people and studio executives' heads this whole time.
Yeah, and I think that might be like the first time that Disney really made a movie. I don't want to say like specifically for adults, but he was aiming for more like sophisticated experience.
Like I don't blame kids for not being interested in this movie. like for back in the day. Like it was still funny to me, like watching. Oh God, it was that other show that was made by the Wire guys, but it wasn't the Wire. It was about like the 1970s through 80s New York skis fest time period, and like when Deep Throat and Debbie Does Dallas came out, that kind of like porn erotic industry.
Oh,
And like how it changed things, and like some of the pimps in the show were like, we can't get anything done here, so I just went to see Fantasia for the 4th time this week. And they're like, is that the one with the dancing hippos? Yeah, I like that one. And so, because like with this one, it's like it's adult. Like Allegro non Troppo is adult, but it's also like more experimental 70s vibe and very Italian, I guess, as Brie you said last night.
Oh, so Italiano.
Because it's like the black and white live action sequences, which apparently weren't originally part of the movie, that like, or some versions of the movie did not have these black and white live action segments. They instead had like stop motion things that would introduce the segments, and then that was it. When it's like, I think that just makes the movie worse, because you gotta have the live action segments to coexist and synchronize with the vibe and tone of these shorts.
yeah, like if you're gonna do a parody of Fantasia, you have to commit to the bit. It's like if you did Young Frankenstein, but you shot the thing in color instead of in black and white.
God, I love Young Frankenstein, man. I know we're getting sidetracked again, but Young Frankenstein is just so good. This is why people keep telling animation fans, if you want to make something in animation, read books, watch live action stuff, do it. And I know it sounds like we're forcing you to cram all this stuff down your eyeballs, but it helps. Because, yeah, if you didn't do these specific things with Young Frankenstein, that's actually a great example. If you didn't do it in black and white, if you didn't fully commit to making fun of every part of the first movie, like the original Frankenstein, then it just wouldn't have worked. So having these live action segments cut out would like cripples the movie. Because what happens in these live action in between segments sets up the tone of the next one. Maybe not the first one with the elderly satyr who's trying to get laid, but then every time he tries, he shrinks more and becomes even more pathetic. But the other ones do. It's just like, here's this big epic one, and literally the Bolero sequence of Maurice Ravel's Bolero playing is set up because of a confrontation between the animator and the conductor grabbing the guy's coat and then throwing the bottle, which then the bottle ignites the shorts. Which, that has to be the best segment, right?
Easily.
Oh yeah, easily.
Because for me, it's a tie between the Bolero segment and the Valse Triste segment, with the cat running around a ruined house. Which, God, that's a tragic one, man. That one makes you want to cry a little.
Yeah, by the end of that one, I was pretty teared up, just seeing just like the ruins of that house, and the cat is like,
it's like the memories of that cat living in that house. And
yeah,
it's so poetic in a way, because from the way that some of the tone in this movie plays out, like with the vaudeville, like very like who was that black and white movie star actor who got like banished to UK because he spoke out against
Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, very Chaplin vaudeville, Groucho Marx kind of stuff. Like, and of course, like I said, the satyr short is like he wants to get laid, but you know, like it's raunchy. But then you have like this extremely poetic, like the Bolero segment is basically their answer to the dinosaur segments from Disney's Fantasia, like both metaphorically and literally, because it's like the evolutionary line of the dinosaurs adapting, like going from like the weird blob from inside the Coca-Cola bottle to ancient reptiles to the dinosaurs, then to humankind where we are just killing everything inside and making everything worse. Because like throughout that whole march of the dinosaurs, there's a gorilla or like ape like person killing.
It looks very demonic.
Yeah, it's like, gee, I wonder what kind of commentary they're saying here. And it's because like the tone of these, I think, fluctuate a little more than I would say in Fantasia, but I'd have to watch Fantasia again. Which, again, a 1940s animated film is 2 hours long. I just think that's amazing to think about, because I just don't think of movies being that long for back then, or at least for animation.
I mean, even now, like, only a handful of quote-unquote American-made films have ever hit that runtime, which makes you really think, had Fantasia, actually been commercially successful, where we would be now.
Hell, even like the sequel, Fantasia 2000, is only like 74 minutes.
And they still had to pad that out with celebrity cameos and such. And it's funny, both Fantasia and Fantasia 2000 both have a segment that's missing. Which is so weird, because it's like, I don't know the excuse about the original Fantasia having I think it's the Blue Bayou sequence that was like then shoved into one of their anthology films that they made during World War II. And Fantasia 2000 had the little match girl segment. Either I forgot, was it not finished or was it like finished but then they cut it out because of runtime nonsense? Like I don't think I quite remember what the overall story of the match girl shorts.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't Fantasia 2000 like didn't it have like IMAX screens like back then, like it was partially exclusive to that, but that was before like IMAX screens were more, quote unquote IMAX screens were more regularly available.
Yeah, this was back when like IMAX screens were really only like found in like museums and stuff,
and some larger movie theater chains.
Yeah, no, that was like back then when like IMAX was just kind of a gimmick kind of thing. Not that that's a bad thing. It's just,
I'm just saying, because they might have cut it down to have more limited showtimes. Because I remember, I think it's a laser IMAX now, but I remember outside of the Franklin Institute IMAX, RIP, over at King of Prussia, which is nearby Philadelphia. Because I remember I saw Beauty and the Beast in IMAX over there, and it was like the early 2000s, so it had to be a film IMAX.
no, see, this is what I like talking about in these podcasts. I like talking about the historical context and production side of things, and just the overall artistic medium of animation. I don't care about your shipping wars, fans.
No, that's a different podcast.
or your fan theories or whatever. It's like, this is what I like talking about, because the rest of the shorts from Allegro non Troppo, like, they kind of fluctuate in tone. Like, I think like the best consistent ones are the Bolero and the Valse Triste shorts. But then we dive back into the this is it. The Antonio Vivaldi's Concerto in C major, RV 559, about a bee who is just trying to have dinner or dine on a flower and just enjoy things while these two stupid humans keep making love on the grass and ruining everything for that bee.
Yeah, she's like, I just want to watch TV, put my feet up in my loafers, and have like a TV dinner. Why are y'all doing this to me?
Stop porking on the grass. And that's what they're doing because this is an Italian animated film. And I mean, yes, like I mean, we say that, but this was also like the time period where there were so many like erotic charged animated films.
Yeah, we're a society that didn't shudder at seeing an areola.
Like there was a lot of sex, and there's a reason why so many of these are not out on Blu-ray because I don't know how half the people who would restore these movies be like, who's going to buy these? Unless you're just kind of like the most perverse weirdo animated fan. Or you're legit buying these for the preservation of history and film and such.
You mean a connoisseur, man of culture, .png.
Pretty much. And then the last short, or one of the last shorts, which is funny because, Bree, I think you pointed this out. The last major short is Igor Stravinsky's The Firebird, which Disney did end up actually making into, at least partially into, a short in Fantasia 2000.
Arguably, like, the most recognized and beloved short of Fantasia 2000, I would say.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
The Firebird Suite.
Yeah, which is, I mean, listen, I don't blame them. That short is amazing.
And which, to be fair, I think both Allegro no Troppo and Fantasia 2000s use different portions of the suite. I just find it funny that, you know, because here's like the interesting thing that I learned while doing my own research is that Disney executives apparently love the movie, and over the years, Disney alums such as, I believe, Ward Kimball told his animation students, hey, you gotta watch this. And then the Walt Disney Museum, which, again, is not affiliated directly with the Walt Disney Company, has shown screenings of it over the years. It's just kind of hilarious that it kind of went full circle in a way.
I do actually love that. People who come from Disney have like a reverence for this movie.
I think that, I mean, I feel like that's kind of like the misconception about Disney for back in the day. Like, that they would just hate all these movies that are doing way more interesting things than they were doing. And it's like,
no, Disney was broke!
Like, Disney was broke. They chose the cheapest, easiest things to adapt. And that's why so many of them have reused animation cycles through them. I mean, I think the only one I would say I legit do not like is the first Rescuers movie from that time period. But outside of that, it's like I do have some kind of love for that 60s to 80s time period for Disney. But I feel like here's the thing that people still keep trying to do with animation studios. They're like, we are in a constant battle with one another. When they're probably like having lunch with each other all the time and being like, hey, you want to see what we're making? Yeah, sure. And then be like, hey, you know what? That's really cool. Do you want to see what we're making? Sure. Then they see them, and it's like, hey, you know what? That's really cool. Like, animation people have to constantly tell fans, we are literally not trying to outdo one another. We are...
I know, because everyone is just, like, so competitive. It's almost like animation is a job and a career, which is why you should be financially supporting them.
Yep.
And I just feel like, yes, there are many, many things you can criticize Walt Disney for, or his brother for, in terms of how they run things and how they were, like, not treating their animators well back in the day, which is why we had one of those early on strikes at Disney, and why they made a bunch of, I mean, on top of the war happening, why so many of their films were like those anthology films. Had more short quality animation and not the theatrical quality that they wouldn't quite get back into until Cinderella. But I think they would like stuff like this. I mean, that's how...
I mean, most people forget Walt Disney had taste.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's why Fantasia exists. He's like he was just like a big classical music fan and wanted to apply that love with animation.
I mean, the guy wanted to make a short with Salvador Dali, which then got made years later. And it's just like, you don't do that for the love of just the bottom dollar capitalism that kills everything that it touches. You do that because, hey, I like this guy's work. We should bring him on. Why do you think they brought on Scarface to do the Hercules concept art? And then took those designs from the guy who made Pink Floyd's The Wall to then adapt into Hercules, which, say what you will about Hercules, the character designs is like one of the few things that makes that film stand out because it's so different from...
Yeah, I mean, if you say that Megara didn't make you feel things as a kid, you're a fucking liar.
I mean,
Big time.
how many people do like still quote James Woods' Hades of just like everything he does? He's different than the others, and like, please, he's a guy. Oh God! But you know about Allegro non troppo and just how even if it ends on like a weird epilogue. No, sorry, we got to get back to the Firebird sequence because it's not really like. I think one of the things that makes Allegro non troppo stand out from like Fantasia is I feel like at the very least Fantasia and Fantasia 2000 tried to make shorts that lined up with the music of that they were having to synchronize with. Allegro non troppo is just like, you have a weird idea? Fine, let's run with it and place it with this music. Because Firebird really has nothing to do with a Firebird. It's about a weird take on Adam and Eve. Like, it first starts out with this, like, cool stop-motion hand and foot thing, which I thought that was going to be the whole short, which, like, hey, that would have been fine with me. It's a cool-looking sequence. But then it goes to Adam and Eve, and what happens if the snake ate the apple? Like, the snake is just like, you want the apple? You want the juicy apple? And they're just like, no, I don't want it. And then the snake eats the apple, and then these fiery demons come out to torment him and basically put him through hell, which is being human.
I felt so bad for this snake.
Same.
Like, the snake was just like at the end, it's like, you know what? Fuck this. No. Here, you guys have the apple. I'm out of here. Done. Bye. And what's fun about this movie is that sometimes those animated sequences or characters will coexist within the world of the live action moments. And like the bee will go sting the conductor, the many musical people will freak out about the snake. And like I said, the Coke bottle getting flung starts the Bolero sequence, which again is just an amazing sequence.
Also, Cameron, something you pointed out when we watched this last night. Mr. Rossi makes a little cameo appearance.
Yeah, he does. He like during a whole sequence where the animator is getting kind of hungry while everyone's breaking for lunch. He sees like the chicken like dropping onto the ground, and he makes Mr. Rossi try to go and get the chicken before horrifically dying in flames. Disney would not allow that to happen.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Like maybe Who Framed Roger Rabbit era Disney would, because they were just like, we need to do something. But even then, like the epilogue sequence where they're like, no, everyone left or quit. We don't have an ending. So the host picks up a phone to call this weird animated Igor, which, yeah, I want to know what part of Toontown this is in. Because, how does this work?
Maybe he's for, like, the Alice for a Good Time part of Toontown.
Yeah. And it goes through all these little, he calls this Igor, character to, pick out an ending. We don't care what it is. Just give us an ending. And it goes through all these little gags and sequences with different musical sequences like Johannes Brahms' Hungarian Dance No. 5 or Johann Sebastian Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor. Which I love that one with the princess and the prince, like the prince going all the way up to see the princess and he just keeps falling back down. And then at one point you just see the princess grab the prince and just toss him over. Like, this movie has so much personality. And I will say, while I do not know a whole lot about Italy's animation scene, even though I do have the Biblioteca's, like, animation atlas book, like, there's a reason why this is the standout movie. It just, like, I don't think like, Italy had a big animation footprint until maybe this point in time.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, you know, they're kind of going through stuff in the golden age of animation that maybe there wouldn't have been a sustainable industry.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a fair point.
I mean, yeah, what was happening during the 1940s and then the 1970s? I don't know what was going on during that time period. But seriously, there's a reason why so much of European animation scene did not quite start until The Yellow Submarine came out. And I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, that The Yellow Submarine ignited the European animation scene. It really didn't, but it did, like, spawn the new wave of, like, animation people, like the Hungarian animator behind Son of the White Mare, and so many others. Just like, I mean, this is why I like doing this show, because we get to talk about and explore the world of animation that's not just through some narrow-minded fan's perspective of animation. We're not watching this just because it has fluid animation, and that's it. We're watching stuff like Allegro non Troppo because they are important pieces of his history, and that, I'm sorry, this is just something that the US side of things aren't going to make unless a group of executives are like, we really gotta to start branching out more. Because we've seen what's going on with Disney and Pixar. They're just kind of doing their own thing with stagnating their creativity. Sony's having, like, internal conflict with itself, with being like, it's like they're afraid or ashamed of the vibrant animation that they kickstarted. DreamWorks is just kind of doing what DreamWorks does, which is whatever it wants. And Illumination is just going to be Illumination. Like, not as an insult, it's just that's what they do. That's their thing.
You know what's, like, crazy? Like, you would have thought that when Comcast kind of, like, remerged, because I think a lot of people forget that Universal was initially the distributor for early DreamWorks films before Jeffrey Katzenberg had some sort of falling out with them. But when they kind of quote unquote, came back into the fold, a lot of people's fears were that they were just going to be another Illumination. But oddly enough, it kind of felt like ever since, like, Comcast acquired them, DreamWorks kind of had, like, an actual identity form that wasn't just, you know, anti-Disney.
I mean, that's kind of the weird thing, is that, like, DreamWorks has just kind of kept chugging along, doing their own thing. And then, like, every once in a while, they'll put out something, like, not that it's inconsistent or anything, but they'll put out something truly, like, awe-inspiring, like The Wild Robots, or Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, or the upcoming Forgotten Island. Whereas everywhere else with, like, Disney and Pixar are just like, we have to stay within our box because we're not making a therapy session.
Which, the irony of, like, the Pixar book being called Creativity Inc., and then you say, like, this is some of the most anti-creative shit possible, like, you can't help but, like, laugh and cry at the same time.
It, like, I still can't believe, like, some of the dumbest things that Pete Docter is saying. Like, is he okay? Did he, like, hit his head at some point, like, when he took over? Like, Pete Docter, the CEO, does not even remotely sound like the same Pete Docter who made Monsters, Inc., or Up, or Inside Out.
It's just a weird time in animation right now, where, like, I remember some animation YouTuber made, like, a jokey letterbox post calling The Wild Robot the best Pixar film in years. And so many people, like, whether you agree with that notion or not, or you just don't like those kind of takes because it just reduces the identity of, like, films like The Wild Robot, people threw a grade A shit fit or meltdown about it. And it's just like, y'all, this is why animation is not being taken seriously by studios, because y'all can't not be weird about films like The Last Wish or Wild Robot or whatever. It's just like, this is why I do go towards non-US animation for a lot of my intake of animation, because that's where the cool, interesting stuff is going. And before I continue, yes, there are bad movies coming out of, like, Japan and Europe and such. It just because that they're not making the US levels stuff doesn't mean that they aren't making their own versions of bad movies or quote unquote soulless cash grabs or whatever.
Garbage is universal, man.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why it's so important, and why we keep kind of slamming people's heads into the table saying, like, watch something non-US related. Please, we beg of you. Because that's where it's going to be. That's where all the cool creative stuff is going to go. And it's just, like, Allegro non Troppo is, like, the ideal example of it. It's like one of those examples that you will, I think, throw to people if they're old enough, mind you, to see something like Allegro non Troppo and see the kind of weird, nifty ending of the movie where the host and the conductor are like, well, we lost everything and not making the money off this, so what's our next money-making scheme? And they basically reveal that they're going to make, like, a weird ripoff of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and Sleeping Beauty, while the Igor guy is just like, haha, these idiots. I love finding movies, or finally watching movies like this. This is why I want us to talk about, like, Shang-An from China, or, another Chinese animated film, Nobody. Because this is where the really cool, story-driven, deep, thematic stuff is coming from now. Not that Pixar or Disney or DreamWorks or Illumination or whoever can't make something like that, but it's just kind of what it is. They treat animation differently than how we do, and instead of expanding and evolving and doing stuff like saying, hey, let's make an Allegro non Troppo, or a Wild Robot, or a Wolfwalkers, or something like that, they're like, how about we make a Home on the Range sequel? Or something like that. And it's just like, no, that's not what we want you to freaking do, man. Or at least that's not what I'm wanting them to do. I want them to treat their creatives right and let them cook.
Yeah, that's really the thing. Like, I get that, like, Hollywood is a business, and they're, like, one of their main objectives is to make money, but I swear you will make more money if you're making, albeit popular stuff, that's just good. Like a movie like Everything Everywhere All at Once became as successful at the box office as it was because it was something fresh, something original, something that people haven't seen before. Like, do more stuff like that, and you'll have a healthier industry.
I mean, there's reasons why people still talk about the panic attack sequence from Puss in Boots' Last Wish. A Shrek spin-off movie. Not only that, a Shrek spin-off sequel movie.
To, like, a movie that just kind of did fine, like, in the early 2010s.
Exactly. Was, like, one of the most acclaimed movies of 2022. Because it had a multi-layered story, which was able to be dark, mature, respectful to its audience, while still having flashy, dynamic action and an extremely witty script. But that's also because Joel Crawford and his team got to make the movie that, like, the executives, I mean, I'm sure they did step in on some things, but it's like they said, yes, you're making this thing for us. We're going to put our faith into you. I mean, who knows what happens, but that's like my point, you know? You can tell when a studio stepped the fuck aside to let someone cook. And if that means you don't greenlight something until you got the full idea fleshed out, Pete, then that's just what's going to happen. Make these movies events. Just let the creatives do their thing.
Yeah, don't let going to the movies feel like a chore, especially when that chore costs most families like $100 a pop.
Like, again, Allegro Non Troppo is amazing. It currently has like 1 or 2 uploads on the YouTube, like in full, which unless G Kids puts out a new release strategy for Allegro Non Troppo, is the only way you're going to be able to watch it until they put it out on Blu-ray. Like, I just go see it, man. I mean, like, I'm already like, yeah, I'm fine with. I accepted I saw Hoppers right before Pete Docter vomited his bad take. Sorry, I'm having like 100 different thoughts rushing through my head right now.
It's
because there are like a few animated films that somehow said like, yeah, you know what, we're gonna just upload it up to YouTube. Like the first I Am What I Am Chinese animated film, which is about lion dancing. It's just up on YouTube. And that's like the director said, yeah, that's fine. I did it. Instead of getting like a G Kids or a Shout Factory or Netflix to release it, they were like,
He just pulled a Thanos and said, "Fine, I'll do it myself."
I mean, I don't know what exactly happened because it was like a big financial hit in China, but that's another story for another time. Which we do. We should definitely watch it. I definitely want to. But expand your horizon and starting with stuff like Allegro Non Troppo. Like, I'm not saying you have to watch the weird time-specific contextual political satire movies or weird art house in like experimental stuff where, yeah, you'd have to know exactly what the director had in mind, or else it's just kind of inaccessible to people who weren't there for like Europe, Russia, Soviet time periods and such. But if you have opportunities to check out stuff like Allegro Non Troppo for free, do it. And then buy the Blu-ray to support G Kids.
If you need a warm-up before you get to Allegro Non Troppo, something that I vividly remember from the 90s, Bruno Bozetto actually produced a short for What a Cartoon called Help. If you grew up in the 90s, you probably remember it's about this cat who injures himself while with a thread needle and has to go to the hospital, and it's just one of the most insane, like, you know, it's a cartoon, but it definitely has that like Italian sense of humor to it.
It's just cool, you know. Like the guy is still alive. I was kind of amazed by that. I thought he would have croaked by now, but no, he's still there at like, I think, 88 years old. Such. And even though he's not making anything now, or at the very least, as far as I can tell, he hasn't made something recent. No, wait, yeah, he did make something recent. He's just been making shorts. So, yeah, just animation is cool, and films like Allegro Non Troppo stand out in a sea and in an industry full of chaos and nonsense right now. I'm so glad I just pulled the trigger and said, we're just going to watch Allegro Non Troppo and talk about it to celebrate its 50th anniversary. Because I just had a blast watching it. It's like one of my new favorite movies to discuss and show people. Like, I can't wait to show this to other people.
Oh, yeah, same.
But next time, we're going to finally talk about Mamoru Hosoda's Scarlet. So...
Oh, this would be so much fun because we should actually say the Annie nominated for Best Writing Scarlet.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that, and we'll see how y'all react to it, because I haven't seen it since then, because Sony Pictures Classics sucks at release strategies to where I couldn't go see this without paying a stupid amount of money for a lift or whatever to go see this. So, but that's a frustration for another time. But yeah, next time we're going to finally talk about Scarlet. And we're going to do this same thing when we can finally talk about A Magnificent Life. Because, again, Sony Pictures Classics, we don't know how to distribute movies. So,
yeah, we're Sony's, special cousin.
yeah.
All right, until next time, Bree, where can everyone find you online?
Do they want to find me? Well, if you do, you can follow me at crazylemur.bsky.social. I'm also on Instagram at lemurs1, where I post more like IRL stuff and am not just angry at animation fans and want to just drop kick them. So it's the more positive me.
And Cameron?
You can find me on Blue Sky at, Cam's Eye View. I have my own website called camseyeview.biz where I review animated films and shows from around the world called The Other Side of Animation. I am trying to get my new articles up on there, but I'm also a contributor to Media Magpies, your new one-stop shop for pop culture and media discourse for TV and film, where I specifically write about animation, though I do have a few live action editorials up on that site too. So I'm about to post a new one about it's like the most poorly timed, I finally got it done and Disney and Pixar decided to be dumber. So it's just they're probably not going to learn anything from this. So I also have a Patreon at patreon.com/camseyeview. That's where you can find me.
And you guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Renegade Pop Culture. You can also find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Renegade Pop Culture. You can find us on YouTube at YouTube/Renegade Pop Culture or Organite Zero. Find us on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need escape? So do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Animation. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.